Mystery attracts mystery. As a performer of unexplained feats, I've encountered strange narratives and events linked to my interests. One such event, which I'm reluctant to share, occurred during my non-professional visit to Egypt 14 years ago. I'd finished a professional engagement in England and signed a contract for a tour of Australian theaters. My wife and I decided to visit Egypt before leaving for Australia. We embarked on the P&O steamer Malwa, bound for Port Said, and planned to visit the principal historical localities of Lower Egypt. During the voyage, I was forced to reveal my identity as a magician, which made me a curiosity among the tourists. We arrived in Egypt, seeking the picturesque and the mystically impressive, but found little of interest in Port Said. We decided to proceed to Cairo and the pyramids, later going to Alexandria. The railway journey was tolerable, and we saw much of the Suez Canal. We arrived in Cairo, which initially disappointed us with its European architecture, but the next day, we delved into the heart of the Arabian Nights atmosphere. Guided by our Baedeker, we struck east past the Ezbekiye Gardens along the Mouski in quest of the native quarter, and were soon in the hands of a clamorous cicerone, Abdul Rais al-Drogman. He led us among wonders we had only read and dreamed of old Cairo's labyrinths, arabesque balconies, and polychrome robes. We saw the roofed, quieter bazaars, spice, perfume, incense, beads, rugs, silks, and brass. Antiquity began to mingle with exoticism. We visited the mosques and the museum, trying not to let our Arabian revel succumb to the darker charm of pharaonic Egypt. Our climax was yet to come, and we concentrated on the medieval Saracenic glories of the caliphs. Abdul took us to the ancient mosque of Sultan Hassan and the tower-flanked Bab el-Azab. We scaled the steep-walled pass to the mighty citadel that Saladin himself built with the stones of forgotten pyramids. It was sunset when we looked down from the dizzying parapet over Mystic Cairo all golden with its carven domes, its ethereal minarets, and its flaming gardens. In the shadow of the great Roman dome of the new museum, we gazed out at the mysterious Libyan desert and the majestic pyramids of Gizeh. As the red sun dipped below the horizon, we knew it was time to leave Saracen Cairo behind and delve into the secrets of ancient Egypt. The next morning, we set out to explore the pyramids, riding across the Nile Bridge and through the suburbs of Gizeh. Our guide, Abdul Rais, helped us navigate the crowds of Bedouins and secured camels for our journey. As we rode, the pyramids loomed before us, their grandeur awe-inspiring. We learned that the largest pyramid was built by King Cheops around 2800 BC and stood over 450 feet tall. The second pyramid, built by King Khephren, and the third pyramid, built by King Mycerinus, stood nearby. The enigmatic Sphinx, with its colossal portrait of Khephren, gazed out at us, its wisdom and mystery beyond human comprehension. We explored the tombs of dignitaries, marked by stone structures and burial shafts, and discovered the mortuary chapels of the pyramids, where priests and relatives offered prayers and food to the deceased. The gate chapel leading to the second pyramid, nearly buried in sand, was said to be the temple of the Sphinx. We wondered about the legends of subterranean passages beneath the Sphinx, leading to depths connected to ancient mysteries. As we sat beneath the Sphinx's unseeing eyes, we felt a sense of unease, and I couldn't help but ask myself a question whose significance would only later become clear. Other tourists began to arrive, and we moved on to the temple of the Sphinx, but I sensed that there was more to see, more secrets hidden beneath the sand. After visiting the pyramid plateau, we explored the second, third, and fourth pyramids, as well as the rock tombs and honeycombings of the 4th and 5th dynasties. We also saw Campbell's tomb, where our camel driver retrieved a sarcophagus from a 53-foot shaft. Bedouins offered to guide us to the top of the Great Pyramid, boasting they could ascend and descend in just 5 minutes with a generous tip. We opted to climb with Abdul, taking in the breathtaking view of Cairo and the surrounding pyramids. Fatigued, we skipped entering the pyramid's cramped interior passages, despite whispers of hidden secrets. As we left, we noticed archaeologists had blocked and concealed certain passages. We wondered why visitors were forbidden to enter the pyramids at night or explore the lowest burrows. That evening, I strolled through the Arab quarter with Abdul Rais, observing the alleys and bazaars in the dusk. We encountered a group of reveling Bedouins, including an insolent youth named Ali Ziz, who exchanged harsh words with Abdul. The situation escalated into a scuffle, which I intervened to stop. The two combatants agreed to settle their difference with a nocturnal fist fight atop the Great Pyramid, accompanied by their respective parties of seconds. Abdul welcomed me to join his party, and we gathered a group of rough-looking men from the lawless regions of town. We set off on donkeys, crossing the Nile and riding to Gizeh. As we approached the pyramids, they loomed eerily in the moonlight, evoking a sense of ancient menace. We arrived ahead of schedule, spotting Ali Ziz's party in the distance. In Egypt, near the Great Pyramid, I was led by Abdul Rais to a battle between Arabs. Despite my initial doubts, Abdul Rais won the fight. Afterward, the Arabs celebrated, and I became the center of attention. They discussed my escape performances, showing hostility and skepticism. I realized that ancient Egyptian magic still existed among the Fellahin, and my presence was resented. Suddenly, the Arabs attacked me, binding me with ropes. Abdul Rais mocked me, saying I would soon face a test of my magic powers. I was carried away, unable to judge the distance or direction. Eventually, I was lowered into a deep, narrow well, feeling intense horror and pain. As I descended, the rope seemed infinitely long, and I scraped against the rough walls. A strange, menacing odor filled my nostrils. Then, I experienced a mental cataclysm, feeling like I was soaring through hellish spaces. I eventually lost consciousness. When I regained my senses, I was still bound and gagged. I had vivid, disturbing dreams, feeling like I was in the grasp of a great, horrible paw, Egypt itself. In my dream, I relived the recent events, feeling lured by an ancient Egyptian sorcery spirit. I saw eerie processions of priests with animal heads, marching through underground labyrinths, offering sacrifices to unknown gods. I felt the malevolent force of necromancy, pursuing me. Then I saw my guide Abdul Rais, resembling Khephren the Great, who built the second pyramid and the Gateway Temple. I awoke, recalling the fight on the pyramid, the Bedouins' attack, and my descent by rope through rock depths. I lay on a damp rock floor, bound and injured. I detected a faint current of noxious air and realized the rope still reached the surface. I had to free myself without alerting the Arabs, who might be waiting to attack me at the entrance. As I struggled to escape, the rope began to fall, piling up around me. I soon realized it was accumulating at an unnatural rate, engulfing and suffocating me. I was trapped, surrounded by unknown, incalculable gulfs of inner earth. My descent and flight through the abyss must have been real, and I was now helpless in a nameless cavern world. I was trapped in a dark, terrifying place, haunted by visions of ancient Egypt's dark secrets. I had read too much about Egyptology, and it filled my dreams with horrors. I dreamed of the dead, their souls and bodies, and the mysterious tombs that held them. The Egyptians believed in a literal resurrection, preserving bodies and vital organs in canopic jars. They believed in two other elements: the soul, which dwelt in the land of the blessed, and the Ka, a life principle that wandered between worlds, demanding access to the preserved body. I recalled the legend of Khephren, the pharaoh who built the Sphinx and the second pyramid, and his consort Nitocris, who ruled over the hybrid dead. My dreams were filled with these horrors, and I was glad they faded from my memory. When I awoke, I was buried under a cascade of rope, but some agency removed it, leaving me tied, gagged, and blindfolded. I was alone, with no idea what was happening. As I struggled to free myself, I felt new pains and injuries, as if some malevolent force had attacked me. But instead of despairing, I felt a new courage and determination to escape. I used all my skills to free myself, and eventually I stood up, unbound and ungagged. I took deep breaths of the chill, damp air, trying to catch a glimpse of light, but there was only darkness. I strained my eyes, trying to see something, anything, but there was nothing. I stumbled forward, trying to find a way out, but the darkness was absolute. I was trapped, alone, and surrounded by horrors. I ventured into the abyss, tracking a landmark to guide me through the darkness. With a matchbox and flashlight, I navigated the blackness, but the foul-smelling draft grew stronger, forcing me to reevaluate my direction. I decided to follow the current, hopping to find an aperture and escape the unknown hall. As I walked, the air thickened and I tripped, plummeting down a black flight of stone stairs into a gulf of horror. I regained consciousness, only to realize I had no idea if I was in Khephren's gateway temple or somewhere else entirely. The Arabs who imprisoned me might have discovered a hidden passage. I stumbled through the darkness, my senses overwhelmed by the putrid wind and the sounds of unknown instruments. Suddenly, I heard the tramping of marching things, their rhythmic footfalls echoing through the caverns. The instruments grew louder, and I hid behind a colossal column, desperate to escape the horror stalking towards me. The light flickered, and the tramping grew louder, threatening to consume me. In a dreamlike state, I found myself in a terrifying scene with massive columns, hieroglyphics, and eerie shadows. I tried to ignore the marching creatures with human hands and animal heads, but their torches cast frightening shadows. I shut my eyes, praying to escape the stench and horror. When I opened them, I saw the creatures gathering around a massive black aperture, led by Khephren and Queen Nitocris. They were making offerings to an unknown deity, possibly Osiris or Isis. I realized I had to escape and planned to sneak past the creatures to the staircase and ascend unseen. I crawled on my stomach, avoiding detection, and finally reached the staircase. As I climbed, I saw hideous decorations on the wall and kept a safe distance from the monstrosities below. When I reached the top, I paused to look back and saw the creatures hailing a massive, hairy creature with 5 shaggy heads emerging from the aperture. As I fled from the terrifying sight, I climbed up a mysterious staircase, guided by neither sight nor logic. I must have been dreaming, because when dawn broke, I found myself standing before the great Sphinx in Guise. I wondered what monstrous creature the Sphinx was originally meant to represent. Then, I saw the supreme horror, the unknown god of the dead, a colossal creature lurking in the abyss, fed by soulless beings that shouldn't exist. A 5-headed monster, as large as a hippopotamus, emerged, and I saw its massive paw. But I survived, and I knew it was just a dream.